Okay, well, welcome. This is CS 3100. You're taking the asynchronous version of it, which means that you are somewhat not taking the lectures in the same time the other students are, but you're learning on your own. It's a little bit like an independent class, but everything is kind of laid out. So there's a few things I'd like to acquaint you with. Um, so let's jump in. Getting your textbook is important. You'll likely go to the bookstore in order to obtain that, and then you'll be buying an access code, and you'll be jumping into the Pearson MyLab website. I believe it's $100. We're going to make that worth every dollar because there will be homework for 12 different modules. I believe there's 15 weeks of class, however many, and then there are 12 different modules. I'm in the instructor view, so it's somewhat different, but you should jump into modules and collapse all. And the way that I design the class is by looking at each of the modules. So I've put in time to build up the modules, and I've gone over them quite carefully. So it should be very accountable to the asynchronous learner like yourself. And so if you go all the way to the end, you see that for every module you have activities. We can click that link and go in, and that outlines everything that's happening in MyLab. And usually there's a list of MyLab items. These are the learning objectives. And for, I think, 4 or 5 of the modules, there's actually a project. And so that project will be done with me. You won't be doing any of the steps on your own. So it's an intricate project, but you'll be receiving step-by-step instructions. There's not a single click of the mouse that isn't going to be instructed. And that will bring you through some of the core learning objectives, such as relational databases, analytics, cloud computing. There'll be a machine learning and AI experience that'll be in module 7. And then there'll be a UX design experience that'll be toward the end of the class in module 12 to kind of cap things off and get you out into the workforce, fired up and confident. You can check out the assignments. Students tend to look at these assignments as a kind of a checklist, and there's a lot of them. These are all on Pearson MyLab, and I want to scroll all the way down. So this looks like a lot, but really what it equates to is, probably 3 or 4 hours of work every week that will go through the MyLab program. So you'll get your MyLab account. So you'll want to get that, within the first week of class. And you'll see that there's roughly 12 of them. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects that you will do with me. For the asynchronous learners, we'll be doing that on a video so that you'll have the same instruction as takes place in the classroom. And wherever possible, I will record the lectures that I do in the classroom. I'm a little bit timid to record my lectures just because that creates an additional bit of stress for me. During the pandemic, I recorded everything, but most likely I'll record something beforehand and not in the lecture unless I get the setup right where that is not a problem. I imagine that that's likely, but it's to be seen. So those are all the gradable items. So the way that that plays out is you're going to go into each module. So let's see, here's module 1, and you can click on that, and then it brings you through a narrative where there's a series of pages. Usually there are learning objectives on the front end of the chapter, and then that moves into an outline of what will be due in terms of deliverables, and these happen to happen on MyLab. Well, there's usually a warm-up, there's a DSM or a dynamic study module. There's usually some exercises, which will go quickly, but will be fun. It'll be easy and informative, and then maybe a simulation, and then there will always be a quiz. You will have 4 shots at doing each quiz. You can stop them and go back to it. I believe that you'll get feedback on which ones you did correctly, so that there's no need for a midterm and there is no final exam, but there is approximately a weekly assessment where you can work through that on an open book basis. For you guys and for everyone else, I tend to include the lectures that I've given before. That will remain very prescient. I'll be doing variations on those lectures for my live in-class lectures, but stuff that I would have done a year or 2 or 3 ago remain very current. They're dealing with all the topics that we're dealing with in the book. But really the purpose of my lecture is to be fun, is to be expansive, is to give you an account of how things work in the real world. As an instructor in practice, I'm a working software engineer, and I work in financial technology, where I'm working with commodities traders. I'm building analytic and data science applications for them and software that helps them to trade, and doing that for institutions. So I'm taking that real world perspective and lecturing based on what I'm seeing out in the field. So these are lectures that are meant to be fun, they're meant to be informative, they're meant to illustrate and take you beyond what is happening in the chapter. But ultimately, the stuff that you're being graded on are, firstly, the MyLab stuff, which is a weekly gradable. And then secondly, the projects, which I will do with you, which have to do with clouds, artificial intelligence, relational database systems, servers, IT infrastructure, the things that are kind of meat and potatoes, peanut butter and jelly in the economy that we want to expose you to. So these lectures, you won't be quizzing on what I lecture you on. These are here to get you thinking about the real life applications of your skill set. And okay, so these are office hours. They are more specific in the syllabus. We'll click there in a minute because the syllabus is your kind of guide to what's happening. And that tends to be the content of most chapters. So let's go to a chapter where there's a project. And I think there are 7 chapters where there are no projects. So 1 and 2, no projects. 3, big data analytics, we're going to have a project for that module, which you will do with me. So we'll do what we would consider project homework, we'll do those together. So you have the MyLab, and this is a screenshot from the online Pearson MyLab. And then you'll have a project, and then you'll be doing the project with me, and then I will encourage you to submit the project right as you finish it. So I'm going to be encouraging 99.99% of you guys to submit it during class. So that will get submitted. And, of course, probably for the asynchronous people, you will get videos for everything, but naturally we may need to answer questions and, do office hours. It's fine. Zoom is not a part of the class unless you would like to use it to do a meeting with me. We don't actually hold Zoom sessions. It's not a virtual class. There's not an attendance component. You are what are called an asynchronous student, so we don't meet at the same time. But if you want to meet with me, this is absolutely a great option. Just click the link, supply the password, and you and I will be golden. Just so that you know, I do not hang out on Zoom unless you and I have an appointment. And as I said, I'm an active. I'll talk in detail about what I do, but I'm actively, at work if I'm not here at Cal Poly. So if you'd like to get a hold of me, then that's something you can do, but you need to kind of be there when we say we're going to talk. And then to me, I am really okay with visiting with people on Monday through Friday, basically anytime. There's probably a way that I can create an open half hour or what have you, 45 minutes to visit with you. There's absolutely a way for me to do that. I could be taking my children to a math tutor and waiting in the car outside and do a phone call, or I could be eating lunch, or I could be doing something else. There is time for you. If you are willing to make time for me, I can make time for you. So we will use Zoom to do those kind of unscheduled office hours. I'm finding that I have office hours, but that people really want to use Zoom during the office hour. And I think that's great. That should work out fine. If you feel like you want to visit with me and introduce yourself and spend some time with me, that is my CBA. I'm in the CBA workroom. And then also I am on Skype. I am interested in using Skype more. Probably if you're using Windows, you can just, it's there already and you can just type this in. I try to have my Skype open all day. If I know you're going to be there, then I make sure that it's on and you can just, you know, see what my status is. Zoom is not great to hang out on. Zoom, you need to make an appointment, but Skype is great to hang out on. So if that's more your style, um, but there's a way for us to hook up. So for example, you could just email me and say, hey, do you have time, 15 minutes? And if not, I do not need a lot of planning. If there's time available for you, there's a way for us to get your concerns. I really like to be there when my students need me. And if that means taking a phone call, great. But I'm not open for text messaging. I find that easily spirals out of control. And I find that when people text me, they feel like, Saturday 10 p.m., that's when they're free. But, weekends, I'm not available. Sunday is not going to work. Saturday, it belongs to my family, not to students. So text messages keep, you know, if I exchange my phone number with you, then you've got permission to use it and you're encouraged to use it, but I don't post it. But Skype, that's as good as an office meeting. All right, so I hope that gives you enough to get started. Canvas should be the way that you migrate, negotiate the course. Um, there's one module per week, and then there's going to be MyLab homework every week, and in several weeks, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 12, we will have projects that we will do together. These are roughly worth one assessment on MyLab. So I hope that is helpful, and of course, I'm looking forward to working with you. So one thing you should definitely do is to get into the video lecture, look at the video lectures. I mean, be inspired by it. I mean, listen to what I have to say, and then begin to form your own opinion with this. I think when you see my lectures, I think you'll see that it's really important to have your own perspective. It's not valuable to take other people's opinions and consider it done. It's important to consume many, many, many opinions and then gradually form your own perspective. We're no longer in the days where people get extra credit for just repeating other people's ideas. For you guys who are going out into corporations, it's more important that you give people an honest and thorough assessment. It's not important for you to be somebody who can just repeat what other people say. That's not as valuable as it used to be. That creates a culture of yes men and yes women. We don't need yes people. We need opinionated people who have worked hard to understand what's happening. So I think these videos are just a part of that experience. But also, if you're in a car, watch a video. People have encouraged me to make a podcast. I prefer to put my energy into teaching. I'm sure if the podcast had sponsorship from, Shell Oil, today's brought to you by GM, then, we can talk about it. But I'm really quite happy to just put up lectures that are for you guys and girls. So maybe if you're at a bus stop or you're looking for some intellectual stimulation during lunch break, or you're looking for more than just what's happening in the textbook. The lectures are really here to bring you into the college culture. And I understand that you're working over a Canvas, over an asynchronous link, but what we owe you is a college appropriate 4-year undergraduate experience that prepares you for a graduate experience, a PhD, a master's, MBA, something along those lines. So I encourage you to check out the lectures because it will acquaint you with the way that practitioners think and the way that decision making gets done at the corporate and the institutional level. So with that, I want to say welcome. You are a big deal. You're the priority. And so make your questions known. Get satisfaction. Do not be on the outsides. And with that, let's get to the syllabus. It's just a Google Doc so that, quick, if there's a typo or something that can be made, it's very simple. It has a lot of the things you already know about. There's also a Discord here, which I used to try to prowl around the Discord. I find that the Discord is here so that you guys have peers and you guys have student community. I would prefer it if students have a question to go ahead and email me or try to do a proper office hour because um, yeah, I find that this, I'm not from the Discord generation, so to me, an email, the email will go right to my phone. That's religion. I make sure that I'm available that way. Discord, you know, there's probably a lot of communications that students want to pose to each other, and I know that's an important way for students to manage the pressure. That's just how it is. So all right. Good luck. Let me know what I can do. Glad to have you aboard.